بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه كما يحب ربنا ويرضى أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله الناصح الأمين اللهم صل على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين ثم أما بعد الحمد لله على نعمة الإسلام والسنة. All praise and thanks belong to Allah for guiding us to Islam and for guiding us to the Sunnah. We continue going over the tremendous work, the explanation of Arba'een al-Nawawiyah by the Fadilat al-Shaykh Al-Allama al-Shaykh Abdul Muhsin Al-Abbad Hafidhullah Ta'ala. We're still on the first hadith, and we have reached the statement of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, فَمَنْ كَانَتْ هِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ فَهِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَمَنْ كَانَتْ هِجْرَتُهُ لِلدُّنْيَا يُصِيبُهَا أو امرأة ينكحها فهجرته إلى ما هاجر إليه. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, bila shak wa bila rayb, he is the greatest example for us in every affair. He is the greatest example for us in every affair. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in teaching, he not only explained to us the concept, but he gave us an example, a practical example, that we could, by way of it, judge other things in relation to it. And one of the benefits of this particular book, as aforementioned, is that every hadith contains principles of the religion. Contains principles of the religion that, by way of these principles, will help us overall inside of our deen. Will help us overall inside of our deen. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gave an example of what was aforementioned. Because previously, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَّا نَوَى. That actions are but by their intentions. Whether they are correct or incorrect will be dependent upon the intention. And everyone will have that which they intended, meaning everyone will be rewarded according to what they intended. So whether they be rewarded or not will be dependent on what they intended. And then the Prophet ﷺ, he gave us a practical example. After explaining the rule, after explaining or the principle, or after highlighting and informing us of the principle, then the Prophet ﷺ, he gave us an example of that principle so that we understand how it works in reality. And this is an example of a great teacher, is that they not only give you what is the rule, but then they give you examples as to how that rule is applied. Now, so before getting into the dynamics of this particular portion, the Shaykh, he mentions hijrah. And what is hijrah? Well, hijratu min al-hajri. Hijrah is from al-hajr, the word al-hajri. Al-hajr. And al-hajru huwa tark. It means to leave something, to abandon something. So linguistically, lughatan, hijr is tark, to leave something, to abandon something. And this abandonment here is in relation to relocation, in relation to relocating. وتكون بالترك البلد الخوف إلى بلد الأمن. And it could be that we leave a place, or that a place of fear and instability is left for a place of security and stability. And this is very important, because a lot of times when it comes to the minds of the Muslims and you mention hijrah, their mind automatically goes to hijrah from Darul Kufr to Darul Islam. to make hijrah from the land of kufr to the land of Islam. Now, and of course, that's the ultimate goal. That is the ultimate goal, to leave the lands of the kuffar and to live in the lands of the Muslims. That's the ultimate goal, right? But it's important for us to understand that it's not just restricted to that. It's not just restricted to that. Shaykh Salih al-Fawzan, hafidhahullah ta'ala, he mentions that there is also a hijrah that a person can make if they need to do it from one kafir land to another kafir land. Now, they can leave one kafir land and go to another kafir land. For example, if there's a kafir land where they cannot outwardly show and display their religion, right? If there's a kafir land where they cannot outwardly display their religion, then worst case scenario, they can leave that land and go to another kafir land where they could outwardly display their religion. And the reason I say this is not that, in other words, a person will have an option. It's not that to say that a person will have an option, that I can either go to the land of the Muslims or I go to a better kafir land. No. I don't want you to understand that. What is meant is that in the event that you are unable to go to the land of the Muslims, for whatever reason that may be, you are unable to go to the land of the Muslims because of financial reasons, of whatever the case is that's preventing you from going to the land of the Muslims. If you can go to a better place, a better region in the meantime, then you should do that. You follow? If you can go to a better place, in other words, if you're in a place of instability, a place of fear, a place where you're under threat of violence and so on and so forth, and you cannot afford to move to a Muslim country, then go to the next kafir land where you don't have that fear. Go to the next kafir land where you don't have that persecution. Go to the next kafir land where they don't have laws set up against you, right? And so on and so forth. For example, if they were to instill a law that says women are not allowed to cover, then that's a place that you have to make hijrah from. You can't live there. If that's a place where it says, the Muslims are not allowed to gather and to pray, then that's a place where you can't live there. Now, so much so that one of the ulama, they mentioned, so we understand the scope. Sheikh Muhammad Bazmoul, hafidhahullah ta'ala, he mentions, he said, if you live in a land, and this is to give us all something to think about, right? He said, if you live in a land that you cannot go to work dressed in Islamic attire, then that's a land that you are not able to openly display your religion in. So you have to leave. Just food for thought. Right? Let me say that again. If you live in a land where you cannot go to work in your Islamic attire, now this doesn't mean just women. A lot of times brothers think, women can't go with hijab. No, even you as a brother. If you cannot go to work in your thawb, if you cannot go to work dressed and clad as a Muslim, then the Shaykh said, then that will fall into those lands where you cannot openly display your religion, so you should leave. Right? Ala kulli hal, give us food for thought. Ala kulli hal, if you're in a place where you can't display your religion, the ulama, they usually bring as examples, you're not allowed to call the adhan. You're not allowed to call the adhan. You're not allowed to dress as a Muslim, meaning in publicly, right? Women are not allowed to cover, not allowed to wear niqab, men not allowed to wear thawbs or wear their beards and so on and so forth. Places like this where the Muslims are being persecuted, then your staying there is not an option. You have to leave. You have to leave. And the only time that you have an excuse is if you are incapable of leaving because your situation, whatever the reasons may be, you cannot leave. Where you want to leave, but you literally cannot leave. Then in that case, you're from the mustada'afin, you're from those who are weak, and oppressed inside the land, so you have an excuse. Anyone outside of that, you do not have an excuse. When the angels take your soul, you're in trouble. Bottom line, you're in trouble. You can't say, because I didn't practice my religion because of the land I was in, the people. No, it's no excuse. You could have left. You could have made hijrah somewhere else where you didn't have that excuse, and you could have practiced your religion openly. Now, ala kulli hal, this is important to know. And a person may say, mad dalil. Now, and we stress this, right? Because, listen, the phenomenon of individuals having this concept that, don't ask me for dalil. Take it as it's disrespectful that a person asks for a dalil. And asking for dalil is not disrespectful. But you want to know, right, what is the proof so that you may practice your religion based upon proof. Because when you meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, na'am, and your question about why you did such and such, do you want to say because so-and-so says so? Or do you want to say because of the ayah so-and-so? Because of the hadith so-and-so? Na'am? Because you want to say dalil if you have the opportunity to, correct? Because we have to base our religion upon proofs and evidences. And this is a safeguard for us. Because let us not get it mistaken. I don't mean to go off into a tangent, but let us not mistake the fact that the Prophet ﷺ, he told us, was a tadiku ummati ala 73 firqa, and that my nation will split and divide into 73 different sects. Kulluha fin nar. Kulluha. Naam. Not julluha, ba'duha. No, not most, some. Kulluha. All of them. Fin nar. Is in the fire. Illa wahida. Except for one. Not اثنين, not ثلاثة, no, one, واحدة, نعم. And then when the Sahaba they asked, وَمَا هِيَ تِلْكَ فِرْقَ يَا رَسُولُ اللَّهِ, and what is that one that will be safe, O Messenger of Allah? The Prophet ﷺ said, مَا أَنَا عَلَيْهِ الْيَوْمِ وَأَصْحَابِي, what I and my companions are upon today. What I and my companions are upon today. That's the only one that's going to be safe. Everybody else, they're going to be destroyed. Why? It's evident in the remedy or in the recipe for those who are saved. Those who are saved, they're upon that which the Prophet ﷺ and his companions were upon. So those who are destroyed is because they're not upon that which the Prophet ﷺ and his companions were upon. They're the ones going to be destroyed. So knowing that, it's going to come a point where we will have this great division amongst the Muslims, not amongst, we're not talking about the kuffar, we're talking about amongst the Muslims, amongst the people who say that they are Muslim. Naam, then it tells you what? You have to be careful who you take your deen from. You have to be careful, because not everyone who says that they are Muslim, or not everyone who is a Muslim, is going to be upon that which is correct. So just because they're Muslim and said something is not enough. Now we need to reassure ourselves that this in fact is correct, because it is based upon proofs and evidences that are utilized in the proper manner. Not proofs and evidences that have been taken outside the proper manner, twisted outside their context, and so on and so forth, but they are proofs and evidences that are taken upon their proper manner. Now, that makes sense? And the reality of it is that this is not hard to accomplish, because when it comes to that which is correct, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, الْيَوْمَ أَكْمَلْتُ لَكُمْ دِينَكُمْ وَأَتْمَمْتُ عَلَيْكُمْ نِعْمَتِي, that this day I have completed your religion. It's complete, it's perfect. And I have completed my favor upon you. So the deen is perfect. Ma'am. So everything that we need from good, the Prophet ﷺ pointed us to. وَمَا مِنْ خَيْرٍ يقربكم إلى الجنة ويبعدكم عن النار إلا وقد أمرتكم به أو كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. There is nothing from good, there is nothing that will get you close to the Jannah, far from the fire, except that I commanded you to do it. وما من شيء يقربكم إلى النار ويبعدكم عن الجنة إلا وقد نهيتكم عنه. And there's nothing that will get you close to the fire, far from Jannah, except that I prohibited you from it. Now, so this is an indication, another indication that what? The deen is perfect. So if anyone comes to you and say there is no dalil for everything in your life, he's a liar. He's a liar. The reason that they will tell you that, there's not a proof for everything, brother. The reason that they will tell you that is that what? Is because they want to get you out of the habit of asking them for proof, because they do not have proof. Because what they tell you is based upon hawa, based upon desires. There's no proof for desires. Now, what they tell you is based upon what? It's based upon bid'ah. It's based upon innovation. There's no proof for innovation. Right? Innovation is any statement, action, belief, so on and so forth, that a person utilizes it to get closer to Allah, but there's no proof or evidence for it. There's no proof from the Qur'an. There's no proof for the Sunnah for it. Yet this person is still doing it to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Bid'ah. You can't worship Allah based upon that. Right? And who would want to? Wouldn't you rather worship Allah based upon what the Prophet ﷺ taught you? Of course. Ala kulli hal, these individuals who say no proof, this is why. This is why. So you find that we have principles in the religion. We have principles. Whereas we have proof for everything. if not directly, indirectly based upon the principle, and it falls under the general aspect of the principle. For example, the Prophet ﷺ told us what translated means that every muskir, that every intoxicant is khamr. Every intoxicant is khamr, and khamr is haram. Right? Right. So now if a person come up with a synthetic drug, new drug, synthetic drug, and the person say, give me an ayah or a hadith that says that this drug is haram, then we bring in this one, the principle, that everything that intoxicates is khamr, and khamr is haram. So therefore it takes care of cocaine, takes care of crack, takes care of meth, it takes care of all drugs. Then they come up with a new drug tomorrow called ceiling blue or whatever, it takes care of that too. If it intoxicates, it's haram. So it takes care of it all. So now we have a text. So either be a direct or indirect text, the indirect being based upon the principle that was established in the deen, then we know which way to go. And that's why knowing the principles is very important, that we know the principles, because then we know how to maneuver in life. Because no doubt, the reality is that there is not a single thing, except that we have guidance for it. Now, I'll give you an example. One person asked Shaykh Uthaymeen, because Shaykh Uthaymeen was mentioning the same thing. There's not a single thing except we got proof for it in the deen. So he was in a restaurant, traveling at the time, giving da'wah and the like. So the person with him, I don't know seriously or facetiously, I don't know, Allah A'lam. But he said, do you have proof for this meal? There's proof for the meal that we ate. To say how to put it together, to tell his recipe, is proof for the recipe. So the Shaykh, he said, yeah, it's proof. So the guy said, okay, what's the proof? So the Shaykh, he told to the waiter, he said, can you call the chef out here, please? So he called the chef. The chef came, he asked the chef, he said, how do you make this dish? So the chef told him how to make the dish. So then the chef left. So then the Shaykh, he says, this is my proof. This is the proof right there. So he said, how is that a proof? He said, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his book, he says, فَاسْأَلُوا أَحْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask those who know if you don't know. So that covers everything, this included. So we have proof, we have guidance from the book and the sunnah, how to make that dish. And that's the benefit of our deen. We have guidance for every aspect of our life. We have guidance. From the smallest things, how we use the toilet, to the etiquettes of sneezing and yarning and so on and so forth, all the way up to how you run a government and how you govern a great nations, so on and so forth. And that which is even more important than that, and that is how you worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and draw near unto Him. We have proof for everything, guidance for everything in the deen. And you understand? So the reality is that there's proof for everything in your life. There's proof from the deen of Al-Islam which shows you how to maneuver. And so on and so forth. Right? But so in the event that we're not able to make hijrah to a Muslim land, then we can relocate to a Kafir land. There's proof. What's the proof? كالهجرة من مكة إلى الحبشة. Like the hijrah from Mecca to Habasha. Right? Because Mecca at the time was Darul Kufr. It was in the hands of the mushrikun, of the polytheists. But in Habasha at that time was in the hands of who? The Christians. It was in the hands of the Christians. The Christians, hum kuffar. Right? But so the Muslims, the first hijrah was from Mecca to Habasha. So it was from what? Darul Kufr to Darul Kufr. Why? Because they were oppressed in Mecca. They were oppressed in Mecca, and they were subject to torture and to harm in Mecca. But in Habasha, they were offered relief. And this is before Najashi accepted Islam. Don't say, but Najashi accepted Islam. This is before he accepted Islam. They went there before he accepted Islam, and they found sanctuary inside of Habasha. So this is an important a fact for us to know. So he brings us as an example. So this happens. So that's what? That's hujjah. That's a proof. It's from the sunnah. What they did was from the sunnah. Because the Prophet ﷺ commanded them to go. Right? Because they were commanded to go by their Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. But وَتَكُونُ مِنْ بَلَدِ الْكُفْرِ إِلَى الْبَلَدِ الْإِسْلَامِ. And it could also be from the country of disbelief to the country, or to the Islamic country, right? To the land of Islam, the land of the Muslims. But what's the proof of that? from a historical record and what they were commanded to do. What's the proof? Now, Ahsan, the hijrah from Mecca to Medina, right? The hijrah from Mecca to Medina, because at the time, remember, at the time, Mecca was land of kuffar. Medina was open, was land of what? Land of the Muslims. Now, so they made hijrah from the land of the kuffar to land of the Muslims. So we know that hijrah from land of kuffar to land of the Muslims, then this is also enters into what is hijrah. Now, وقد انتهت الهجرة إليها بفتح مكة and بفتح مكة, and hijrah from Mecca, right, was came to an end. It ceased and desisted. No more hijrah away from Mecca. With what? With the conquest of Mecca. Because once the conquest of Mecca happened, now Mecca is a land of the Muslims. Now, so now a person can't say, I'll make hijrah from Mecca. There's no hijrah from Mecca. That's over. Because now Mecca is a land of the Muslims. Now, but however, الهجرة من بلاد الشرك إلى بلاد الإسلام باقية إلى قيام الساعة. But the hijrah from the land of the Muslims to the land of Islam, it will remain until the establishment of the hour. So this is still remains. A person cannot come and say, oh, there's no hijrah today. People say that. There's no hijrah. No, there's hijrah today, right? It may not be hijrah to a country you want to go to. So, that's the reality. It may not be hijrah to a country that's desirable for you, but there are Muslim countries that open the door for you. The question is, do you want to go or not? That's the question. But they're still hijrah, even with the difficulties that we have today with the visa situation and immigration situations and so on and so forth. Even with all of these things that man have put in in place that makes some difficulties and hindrances and so on and so forth. Even with all of that, you can still do it. You can still do it. Now, and this is important. And that is if the deen is most important. If the deen is most important, you can do it. If the deen is not most important to you, you still can do it. You just may don't want to do it. Right? But, على كل حال, so the statement, فمن كانت هجرته إلى الله ورسوله فهجرته إلى الله ورسوله. So whoever his hijrah is to Allah and His Messenger, then his hijrah is to Allah and His Messenger. What does that mean? Right? Because there's an iteration. Whoever is hijrah to Allah and His Messenger, then his hijrah to Allah and His Messenger. Right? What does that mean? اتحد فيه شرط والجزاء. In this construction, the condition, because this is a conditional phrase, and each conditional phrase will have its answer in the Arabic language. Each conditional phrase will have its answer, will have its jawab, right? Or will have the reward for it once the condition is fulfilled, right? So here you have that the condition and the reward have been unified. They've been made one. They've been made one. And this is an outstanding construction linguistically, and the eloquence of it is tremendous, right? Because what's understood, because the asl ikhtilafuhuma, because the origin when it comes to a conditional phrase and the answer to that phrase, or the reward and or response to that phrase, is that they come in two different phrases. They don't come use the same phrase, but they come in two different phrases. That's the origin, right? Whoever studies, then they will be successful, right? So on and so forth, right? But here you have, they come as one. So whoever makes hijrah to Allah and His Messenger, then his hijrah to Allah and His Messenger, right? But فَمَعْنَا, the meaning of that is that what? The first sentence, فَمَا كَانَتْ هِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ نِيَّةً وَقَصْدًا, that whoever their hijrah is to Allah and His Messenger, with their intention, and خلاص, نية وقصد is usually translated the same thing, intention. So whoever their intention for making hijrah is to Allah and His Messenger, فَهِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ ثَوَابًا وَأَجْرًا, then his migration will be unto Allah and His Messenger, meaning in reward and in again, thawaban, ajran, usually translated as reward. Right? So whatever is synonym for reward is, then use that word, because I can't think of it right now. Right? Yani, and in that, they will be separated. The Shaykh, he says, فَافْتَرَقَ. Also, the ulama, they mention that by the Prophet ﷺ utilizing hijrah as an example, because a lot of things could be utilized as an example in this context, but the Prophet ﷺ utilized hijrah, and that is to show the superiority of hijrah. That is to show the superiority and the virtue of hijrah, is that the Prophet ﷺ, out of all that he could have used for an example, he utilized that for an example. Now, that makes sense? Makes sense? Wait. So in the Rajab, because remember, we mentioned that these are principles. So in the Rajab, he hammers this point home. Again, he mentions, he says, لَمَّا ذَكَرَ صلى الله عليه وسلم أَنَّ الْأَعْمَالِ بِحَسَبِ النِّيَّاتِ. He said, when the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned that actions will be in accordance to their intentions. They will be in accordance into what the person had intended. وَأَنَّ حَظَّ الْعَامِلِ مِنْ عَمَلِهِ نِيَّتُهُ مِنْ خَيْرٍ أَوْ شَرٍ. And that verily an individual, what they will get or their action will be based and dependent upon their intention, be it from good or be it from evil. Now, be it from good or be it from evil, because a person could intend evil by something or they could intend good by something, right? And again, an example of that will be an individual who they fast in Ramadan and they're seeking the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then this person is fasting and their intention, their motive behind fasting is good, right? Another person could do the same thing, fast in Ramadan, but it's only to gain the pleasure of human beings. So they have fasted the exact same fast, but they didn't fast for Allah. They fasted for other than Allah. So now their intention is what? Is evil. Their intention is evil. The action is the same, right? But the intention is what's going to determine whether or not this was a good intention or a bad intention. If it's a good intention, the person will be rewarded. If it's a bad intention that will corrupt his action, then they will not be rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, that makes sense? So, every action, because remember, a principle is that which other things are built upon. A principle is that which other things are built upon. So, this principle that is laid down is that whatever the action may be that a person may do, it will be dependent upon what they intended. If they intended good, then inshallah ta'ala they will get good. If they intended evil, then that's what they're going to get. They're not going to get any reward for it. فَهَاتَانِ كَلِمَتَانِ جَامِعَتَانِ قَاعِدَتَانِ كُلِيَّتَانِ. So these two phrases, right? These two phrases are phrases that are encompassing. They are phrases that are encompassing and they cover much, right? Jami'atan, jami', something that it covers much, it encompasses much, it incorporates much. It's short, and concise, but it covers a great deal of things. And these are two principles, that in their totality, or two principles that cover things in totality. Right? In the sense of what is meant by totality is that لا يخرج عنهما شيء, is that nothing will go outside. There are no exceptions to the rule. These are two encompassing rules that there are no exceptions to. Right? There are no exceptions to. Is that if a person, a person's correctness or the validity or invalidity of an action will be dependent upon their intention. Whether they be rewarded or not will be dependent upon their intention. There are no exceptions to the rule. There are no exceptions to the rule. Now, so this is a principle that is very important, because this is something that when a Muslim understands this, it will help them to intend to seek the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when they're doing things. It will help them to seek Allah ta'ala's pleasure and to intend Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when they're doing things, because it is very easy to fall into that which you will nullify your deeds. Now, I'll give you an example. If a person made wudu, they made wudu, naam, aw yaghtasil, or they made ghusl. Person made ghusl. Naam. One person makes ghusl because they were in a state of janaba, mathalan. Right? They were in a state of post-relation impurity. So they take ghusl, right? This person takes ghusl ibadatan. They take ghusl for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? But likewise, wudu. Person make wudu because they broke their wudu. So they made wudu to get into a state of ablution. Another person take ghusl because it's hot. So you want to cool down. Another person make wudu because he want to cool down. A person, his intention, and that's what I'm saying. That's why it's very important, your intention. If a person jumps into the shower and maybe in a state of impurity after relations, right? Post-relation impurity. But they jump into the shower and their intention in taking the shower was to cool down. That was their intention. That was their only intention. They got in there just to cool down. And then after they jumped out, they dried off, put on lotion, whatever, they realized, I forgot I was in a state of post-relation impurity. Could they say, but that shower was enough, it's fine? No. They got to get back into the shower. Why? Because their intention wasn't to remove the impurity. Their intention was to cool down. You understand what I'm saying? But so now if a person, it's a hot day and the person say, man, subhanAllah, I gotta make wudu. So they go to make wudu. But then by the time they get there, they say, man, so hot, let me cool down. And they make the intention to cool down. Can they pray with that wudu? No. But do people do? Yeah. They do because they don't know. You always say, well, I made wudu, so it's okay, right? No, actions are by the intention. And the person say, well, what's the proof that now his wudu don't count? There's hadith. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Actions are by the intention. Your intention was to cool down, so how are you going to be rewarded? You need to cool down. Likewise, Ramadan. A person gets used to fast every 9th month of the year, we fast. They get used to it, right? Or a person saying, I need to lose some weight. I'm going to shed some pounds. So, this Ramadan, I'm going to shed some pounds. And that's their intention. Not to abudan, not to worship Allah, not seeking reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but to lose weight, or just out of habit. Will their fast count? It won't count. It's very easy to fall into doing things out of habit. It's very easy. Even though salawat, the prayer, just out of habit. This what I do this time of the day, and it's out of habit, habitual. This is from the trick of shaitan, how he steals from you. Get you to cheat yourself from your reward. Because now they're doing it out of habit. Not doing it, seeking the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But now think about that. If we keep reminding ourselves and keep battling ourselves to do things for Allah, think about how that will better your action. Because when you do something out of habit, it becomes robotic. Like you're not even thinking about what you're doing because it's habitual, right? But when you do things for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's cognitively on your mind to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, now your salah is better. It's easier for you to have khushu' because you remember who you're seeking the reward from. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that increases and that makes everything better. Likewise with the fasting, a person remembers I'm fasting for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, so he's going to be more cognitive while he's fasting to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he's going to do those things that please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they're not going to lie, they're not going to verbally abuse, they're not going to do haram things, they're not going to look at haram things, and so on and so forth, because on their mind, I'm doing this for Allah. Now, likewise, how this will help your marriage. Yeah, it'll help your marriage, right? Because making a Muslim happy is a good deed. You get a good deed, you make a Muslim happy, right? Right. Some of the easiest people to make happy are our spouses because we know them. So we know what kind of foods they like. We know what kind of candy they like. We know what kind of ice cream they like. We know like all this little stuff, right? So a person, they say, you know what? I'm going to seek to please Allah by getting a good deed, by bringing joy to a Muslim, right? So a person now, it could be something so simple and random. It could be at the grocery store and they say, my wife, she likes this type of fruit. I'm going to surprise her with this fruit. Or whatever, right? I'm going to surprise her with this chocolate and surprise her with this ice cream and let her know I got it just for you, because I know you like it. So it's yours. That's going to make her happy. So you get rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for making a Muslim happy. your wife is happy, your marriage is better. You see? Likewise, you become a better son, making your mother happy, making your father happy, right? The women, they become better daughters, making their parents happy by doing things to help them. Take out the garbage before you're asked to. Yeah? Children, right? Take the garbage out before they ask to. Wash the dishes before they ask to. Do your chores before you ask to. It's going to make your parent happy. You'll be rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if you intend to do it to seek Allah's pleasure by being dutiful to your parents. And so on and so forth. So these principles, if we apply them in our life, they make all of our life better. They make all of our life better. You can't lose when you apply Islam. Right? Right. The Shaykh Ghazali says, فَذَكَرَ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ مِثَالًا مِنْ أَمْثِيلِ الْأَعْمَالِ مِنْ أَمْثَالِ الْأَعْمَالِ. He said, and then the Prophet ﷺ, he brought an example after that from actions. يعني التي صورتها واحدة, from actions in which the outward appearance is one. ويختلف صلاحها وفسادها باختلاف النيات. But whether they are correct or incorrect, valid or invalid, will differ depending upon their intentions. وكأنه يقول, and it is as if he said, سائر الأعمال على هذو هذا المثال. And it is as if the Prophet ﷺ said, all actions are upon this model. All actions are upon this example. Naam. And this is what we benefit from the likes of that. This is one of the things we benefit from the likes of this particular hadith, is that all actions are upon this example. وقال أيضا, and he also said, فأخبر النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أن هذه الهجرة تختلف باختلاف النيات والمقاصد بها. And also this hijrah, it will differ depending upon what was the intention. The hijrah, it will differ in reality depending upon what is the intention. فمن كان الهجرة إلى الدار الإسلام حبا لله, so ever his hijrah was to the land of Islam because he loved Allah ورسوله, and he loves his messenger, ورغبة في التعلم دين الإسلام, and because he had a desire to learn about the religion of Islam, وإظهار دينه, and to show, so he can openly display his religion, حيث كان يعجز عنه في دار الشرك, from the standpoint or due to the fact that they were unable to openly display their religion inside of the land of polytheism. فَهَذَا هُوَ مُهَاجِرْ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ حَقًّا. Then this one, he is the one who was a true migrant to Allah and His Messenger in reality. نعم. وَكَفَاهُ شَرَفًا وَفَخْرًا أَنَّهُ حَصَى لَهُ مَا نَوَاهُ مِنْ حِجْرَتِهِ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. And it is enough for him, how you say, it is enough reward for him, it is enough from nobility and for bragging rights, as lack of a better term. It's enough for him from nobility and bragging rights, the fact that he was rewarded because he made his hijrah to Allah and His Messenger, so therefore his hijrah was to Allah and His Messenger. ولهذا المعنى اقتصر في الجواب هذا الشرط على إعادة بلفظه. He said, and because of this, then it was summarized, mentioning the reward or the answer for this particular conditional phrase by just repeating the initial traditional phrase. Now, conditional phrase. Whoever makes hijrah to Allah and His Messenger, then is hijrah to Allah and His Messenger. So the phrase was just repeated. So, and in that, then there is a tremendous benefit for an individual. In that, it is a tremendous sharaf, there's a tremendous nobility, because it was reiterated. Now, because it was reiterated. As opposed to what? The one who made hijrah to the dunya, we'll come to see. The one who made hijrah to the dunya or to a woman in order to marry her, Allah Ta'ala doesn't repeat it. He just says what? Well, hijrah to ma hajra ilayhi. Then it's hijrah to whatever he made hijrah to. You see? You see? But, right. طيب. لأن حصول ما نواه بحجرته نهاية المطلوب في الدنيا والآخرة. And this individual who made hijrah to Allah and His Messenger, then he will have attained the greatest achievement, in the epitome of achievements and that which is sought after in this world and the next, and that is that his deeds were accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he was rewarded for his deed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And at the end of the day, that's really what it's all about. Nah, that's really what it's all about. نعم ومن كانت هجرته من دار الشرك إلى دار الإسلام في طلب الدنيا يصيبها أو امرأة ينكحها يعني في دار الإسلام فهجرته إلى ما هاجر إليه. نعم, and whoever his hijrah, leaving the land of Kufr to the land of Islam and migrating to the land of Islam, was to gain some worldly reward, or was to a woman so he can marry her inside of the Muslim land, then his hijrah was whatever he made hijrah to. His hijrah was to that. فالأول تاجر, the first one is a merchant. والثاني خاطب, the second one was one who was engaged. فليس واحد منهما مهاجر, but none of them are muhajir. Not muhajir. This one, the tajir, came to get money, merchant. Now, the other one, khatib, he came to marry a woman. Now, a woman came to marry a man, whatever. Now, this person who was engaged, that's it. They're not a migrant. They're not one who made hijrah. وفي قوله إلى ما هاجر إليه, and inside the statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, إلى ما هاجر إليه تحقير لما طلبه من أمر الدنيا واستهان به. It is, this is a belittlement to say in his hijrah was whatever he made hijrah to. Now, this statement from the Prophet ﷺ is so as to show how this is something that is nothing, this is belittled. Now, so therefore, it's not even worth mentioning, not even going to dignify it to mention it. Then his hijrah was to have whatever he made hijrah to. That's what his hijrah for. Now, because of this person making or doing this religious thing for the affairs of the dunya. And this applies to anything from the deen. Person do it for dunya, then he has disgraced himself and belittled his own affair. وَحَيْثُ لَمْ يَذْكُرْهُ بِلَفْظٍ. So the Prophet ﷺ, he didn't mention it. He didn't give it dignity to mention what the person made hijrah to. وَأَيْضًا فَالْحِجْرَةُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَاحِدٌ. Also, the hijrah to Allah and His Messenger is one. Another standpoint of why it wasn't reiterated, so his hijrah was to the dunya, was hijrah to the woman, and so on and so forth, is because the hijrah to Allah and His Messenger is one. To make hijrah fi sabilillah is one hijrah. Now, whereas to make hijrah for the dunya, then there's many reasons that people make hijrah for the dunya. Now, hijrah to Allah, فلا تعدد. Na'am, then it's not multiplied, it's not for many reasons, but it's for one reason, to make hijrah for Allah. Na'am, فذلك أعاد الجواب فيها بلفظ الشرط. And for this reason, the response has come with the same expression of the condition. والهجرة لأمور الدنيا لا تنحصر. But to make hijrah for the dunya, it is not restricted. فقد يهاجر الإنسان لطلب الدنيا مباحة تارة ومحرمة أخرى. Because a person, he may make hijrah to something from the affairs of the dunya that in one case is permissible, in another case is haram. نعم. وأفراد ما يقصد بالهجرة من الأمور الدنيا لن تنحصر. And it's also another important point, is that from one point, the type of hijrah that is made for the dunya is not the same. It could be a worldly hijrah that is mubah, right? Or it could be a worldly hijrah that is haram. So a person make hijrah to marry a woman, that's mubah. Okay, a person make hijrah to fornicate with a woman, haram. Person make hijrah, for whatever reason, to do halal business, this is okay. Person make hijrah to do a haram-based business, haram. So the type within itself may differ, but also that which a person makes hijrah for may differ. That which a person may hijrah for may differ, from the affairs of the dunya. So for that reason, also we benefit from the Prophet ﷺ statement, فَهِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى مَا هَاجَرَ إِلَيْهِ كَائِنًا مَا كَانَ. So his hijrah was to whatever he made hijrah for, whatever that may be. If it was for a woman, if it was for a business, if it was for, whatever, better environment, whatever the cases may be, better weather, whatever, then it was whatever he made hijrah for, whatever that reason may be, from the different reasons, the various reasons of why a person made hijrah from one place to another place. And then Imam Ibn Rajab, he gets into some of the background on this particular hadith and some of the reasons why it is mentioned that this hadith was stated but are not in fact valid sabab, for this particular hadith. But due to the time, we're gonna end that there and save that for the next class. And likewise, the fawaid that are taken and extracted from this particular hadith, we'll go over that as well. The 8 fawaid extracted from this hadith, no doubt those 8 fawaid will be upon the homework. And likewise, there will be, as usual, 10 questions based upon today's class, which the homework will go out on the Telegram room بإذن تعالى. فنكتفي بهذا القدر. صلى الله عليه وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين، وجزاكم الله خيرا.